Dr. Shahan, this is Julie. This is my first Screencast-o-matic video, and I can already tell that it's going to be very useful whenever I begin teaching for my students. These are the notes that I took in class Friday. They're a little jumbled, but I can understand them. The main topic of the video that we watched in class was embedding the standards into your classroom. One of the main things that I think the beginning of the video talked about was the difference between standards referenced room and a standards embedded curriculum. In a standard referenced room, the standards are placed around the room, but the students don't really know what they are, or what they're trying to do, what they mean, what they're asking them to do. And in a standards embedded curriculum, the students should know and understand the standards. They should be comfortable and familiar with them, and the teachers go over them with their students. Lots means language of the standards, and that just means that when you know the language of the standards, you can understand the standards better. One thing that the video recommended was to take apart the vocabulary and dissect it to help the students understand it better. They gave an example. The student had a standard, like on a notepad or something in the front of the classroom, and broke apart the vocabulary in the standard and explained what it meant. That way the students could understand it better. She talked about repacking the standard, and I believe that was the use of the post-it notes to understand the standards. It's kind of the same as the taking apart the vocabulary, but they would take apart a word, put a sticky note, and then break down what was in the sticky note into smaller chunks of information to understand it even better. I think these are some things that you mentioned in class that I thought were really important, so I wrote them down. Assessment drives instruction, and then you mentioned what do they need to know, how do you teach it, how do you know that your students know it. And then you mentioned that it's important to assess before you get to the end of a unit, because if you wait till you get to the end and they don't know it, then you've wasted all the time. You need to know at what point do they stop understanding, and then that way you'll know how to help them. Formative assessment was mentioned several times in class, and you said several times that it was an ongoing assessment that drives instruction. In the video, it also talked about giving a checklist to your students, not one with just boxes for you to check off or fill in, but with fill in the blanks. That way the teacher can walk around and see how much the student has finished, what they do understand, and stuff like that. The video stated that having a standards embedded curriculum can help the teacher to focus and prioritize their instruction. That way they're not teaching something that isn't needed. They're focusing more on what the standards are and helping their students achieve those standards.